All right, guys, I'm here with Rollo Damas, the great predictor of the manosphere, or whatever we're calling it these days. And it's the end of the year, and I just wanted to get it from the source, the correct predictions, because it's kind of scary how Rollo kind of always gets it right. So I remember I was it 2 or 3 years ago, you were talking about the Prince Harry
Oh,
situation, and you would always put like tick, 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 like the relationship was a ticking time bomb, and no one would understand. Like, hey, this is how it starts. This is how men, end up in a situation that, God forbid, they do a permanent solution to a temporary problem, right?
mm-hmm.
So not that it's played out exactly in the exact same timeline you'd say it would be, but like it's happening. Like they're separated, a professional separation, whatever that means. AKA she's not into him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that right. So I was just wondering, there's a lot of things going on. It was an election year, so a very tumultuous year for the players, if you will, in the manosphere. So I just wanted to ask you first, the conservative figureheads, the guys that wear the red pill as a skin suit, don't really care about getting it right, just whatever gets them clout, whatever gets them a debate, whatever. Do you think are they going to shy away from the red pill, and uh, or are they going to come back once Trump is in office, everything dies down? At what point? You always say it's like spring 2025. Do you really think they're going to come back, crawling back to the red pill?
Crawling back is not a term I'd use. I'm getting a little echo on your end. No, whenever I hate making predictions. I really do, because then I get like people who okay, I'll give you an example. Somebody was hitting me up like right before Kamala was running for president, and then we got to like Super Tuesday, and this guy just like out of the blue, just like foaming at the mouth. The guy was all, "You were wrong, Rollo. She was never president. She didn't get to." And I go, I got you on a technicality though. I said in 2022, when Biden was put under anesthesia to get prostate surgery or something like that, she was sworn into the presidency for 85 minutes. I said, I win.
Yeah. So you predicted that.
No. I got you.
You won on a technicality. Yeah, it's true.
So go fuck yourself. Yeah, so it was funny. But like that's the level of like Asperger's syndrome that these guys have. And then the guy's like, see, you're not a real psychic. And I was like, not actually psychic.
No. It's the internet. I just can't believe something. Like there's just some things you can't believe, and there's a lot of things on the timeline I see.
That's the thing that scares me, like about like going public or like people seeing it, like because I'm in Vegas and there's a lot of people here, and I got recognized just last night at the Red Rock, and it's like I don't know if these guys are like fans and they love me and everything, or if they're gonna try to like gun me down or something like that because I didn't get a prediction right. But no, I was telling Aaron Clary this last week on Sunday's show. I'm good at pattern recognition. That's about it. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't like look at chicken entrails or anything like that. But I see the signs, and I see the patterns and everything. And one of the things I was noticing about, I guess 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. And I said, I think it was in 2023. I said, by August, you will not recognize the manosphere. And I think I was pretty accurate in that. And then once we get into an election cycle, the other prediction that I made at the end of 2023 was that by August of 2024, everybody will have abandoned the red pill, or it will become something different, because it was exactly what happened really in 2016 and then again in 2020. And what happens is we tend to go through these phases in the influencer spheres. And it's not just the red pill or the manosphere, it's like other spheres as well, right? So I look at it as like there's sort of the intersexual dynamic sphere, which we, sort of have referred to as the red pill for quite some time. But when that becomes like a convenient like brand to appropriate, then people will start calling, Nick Fuentes is red pill, right? Like, get the fuck out of here. There's no way is he red pill. And then you'll get people who want to turn it into like religion. Oh, the white pill and the purple pill and the, you know, whatever.
The Christ pill.
Yeah, the Christ pill. And, you know, hey, bro, you know, let's go. What mighty man of God pill, whatever. And
The smart helmet
is a fucking right. I'm just like, for fuck's sake, guys. Yeah, and so, but it's the same thing that happened in 2015 and 2016 because they're like, what are the kids into? What's this red pill stuff? You know, we're going to start calling the conservative movement the red pill. And so, like, I always come back to the example that, like, Candace Owens, before she was Candace, was red pill black.
Red pill black, yeah.
In 2015. And that's why I was just talking to Milo Yiannopoulos because he's now back on Twitter, and he goes, "Yep, I remember that."
He remembers that, like, Milo Yiannopoulos is bringing out the receipts.
I've known Milo. I've been talking to Milo like since probably 2013, and then he was banned for a while, and then Milo he just kind of lost his mind for a while, but now he's kind of back, and it's interesting to talk to him again. He's sort of recreated himself in a different kind of character, I think. But that's what these guys have to do, is they have to recreate themselves as like the new, whatever the new hotness is. And so when you're asking about like the trad cons and everything, they're just going to, like, are they going to stick with it? Are they not? They're just going to rebrand themselves as whatever is trending. And because that's all it really is amounts to. And I think that's what is the most frustrating part of all this, because like myself, Ryan Stone, Aaron Clary, Rich Cooper, a lot of these other guys, we've been doing this stuff for forever. And so when somebody
your first rodeo,
roll in, like I was just watching, somebody sent me a link to the interview between Ryan Taraban and James Sexton, and it was on Soft White Underbelly. And I think just as nonchalantly and as innocuously as possible, like Jim Sexton was like, saying, "Hey, it sounds like you're trying to separate yourself from like all this, this noise from, these spheres and this and that and everything." I'm sure he was saying it in the most,
lawyer-esque way.
Yeah, lawyer-esque way, true. And then, but the truth of the matter is that Dr. Taraban has been lifting my material for quite some time now, and to the point,
hasn't at this point?
Who hasn't? Yeah, that's why me and Ryan always joke that we're the research and development department.
The crazy scientists in the basement, and they're the corporate suits that just say, "Hurry up, scientists! I need new stuff for this."
Well, I mean, essentially what he's done is he's taken and repackaged a lot of the stuff. I mean, in some cases, like literally lifted the titles from my essays. Like he's got this chapter in his latest book called like Mutiny or something. I'm like, and Mike Sartain was telling me about it. I go, here's where he got this from.
Here it is right here.
I have this encyclopedic knowledge of like all of the essays and everything I've ever written, right? Because I'm the author. So I said, this is where he stole all of this material that he decided to put in his book. And that's, sooner or later I'll probably have this conversation with Jim Sexton, but I'm just like, the reason why he wants to separate himself and won't even say my name is because he knows where he gets his material from. And I think, but he's a good example of what you were saying before, how these guys sort of want to be on board with the red. He didn't have any problem being associated with the red pill when he first came out. He had no problem at all. And a lot of, I still think a lot of his stuff that when he's not lifting my material is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like if he wants to get on shows like Soft White Underbelly, they haven't called me. Like I remember Jim Sexton was saying, "Oh yeah, man, hey, I'm going to get you on Soft White Underbelly with me," and then like 2 months later,
I thought you were overdue for that show, honestly. But
he was on there. He was on there with Orion Tarabat. I'm like, I guess I'm not getting the call.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, the thing is like a lot of these guys sort of like come and go, and so I'm probably with a few notable exceptions, I think I'm probably the most consistent personality in this space, right? My message is always consistent. I have never pivoted out of anything. I've never.
I mean, you can't. You are the red pill.
I can't. I was telling I told Mike this. I told Aaron this. I said, "Can you imagine me like trying to like be taken legitimately for like politics or religion or something like that?" I said, "But that's just not going to happen because on my." I've got 5 books to my name and a 6th coming out in probably the first or second quarter of this year. But that's what I do is I'm an author before anything else. And so I think people sort of like eventually they sort of just see you as being like the people who are like some of my biggest critics, they think all I am is just like a podcaster. I'm like, dude, fuck you.
No,
Doing
the red book. It's the red book.
Yeah. So what happens is, and you get these guys who come in on the red, like he benefit, like I'm just going to use Terabab for an example, but he's one of many, right? And they come in on this red pill wave, and I would say Myron and Fresh were on the red pill wave. Certainly, like Kevin Samuels was on that red pill wave. I'm trying to think who else. Like, there's even the guys from like the roommates, like Hafiz and them. They were all about it until they weren't, right? And you got MTR,
converted Christianity.
Yeah. Well, mediocre tutorial reviews. That guy, I don't remember his name, but like he's on the same watch list that me and Aaron and Rich Cooper are on for the DHS and the NGOs and stuff like that. And I'm like, how is this guy getting like associated with the red pill? Because he's been very, very critical of the red pill, and then I realize it's because he came in on that wave, right? So what happens is everybody comes in and they make a lot of money at it. Like if you look at Adam Sosnick, and if you look at like you look at Bila, who I still love like a sister, right? She's fantastic, but she got out because of all the shit that was going on with Valuetainment. And you look at like Valuetainment, like Patrick Bet-David really wanted to get in on the red pill wave, and when Andrew Tate was a thing, then he wanted to go and interview him and pretend like they're, you know, like he went to junior high school with them or something. You know?
Yeah.
And they just wanted to be associated with it because that was where the money was at that time. That's where the clout was. That's where the influence was. That's where the click through was. And so they all were all about it. And then rolls around 2023, and then things start to sour a little bit. And then so now you've got Adam Sosnick, whose show I essentially developed for him from 2022 on, saying I am red pill adjacent.
He said that you were red pill adjacent.
No, he said he was red pill adjacent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and even Mike Sartain has said that in the past too, and I'm just like, oh, we're adjacent now. And that's why right after, I think it was on the election night coverage on CNN when Dana Bash was talking about, well, you know, this election has always been about the manosphere, and I guess we're all in the manosphere now. And I go, yeah, bitch, nobody's adjacent now, are they? No one is adjacent. Yeah. We're all in the manosphere. It's out of
convenience. Yeah, it's all like they will follow what's convenient and what's the new thing, regardless.
And that's how you can tell. See, that's how you can tell like who's about it and who's not. And so the people who are just still going and writing, and you know, most people on Substack, I think a lot of people don't realize that I'm on Substack, Ryan's on Substack, you're on Substack too, I believe. And that's where a lot of sort of like the thinking man's Twitter, I guess, is what I would call it. But there's a lot of really good material that's going on Substack. And it's all subscriber based and everything else. And I think a lot of people at some point along the way said, you know what, we're gonna move over to where we can actually like make some progress and do some things that are really about something that's more substantive, you know, something that's more constructive.
Yeah. Come up with ideas, because I mean, you are one of the original ideas guys. I tell people I have not come up with anything new. I have I just repackage everything. We stand on the shoulders of giants. It's thousands of men who pulled their observations together, and you happen to take it and put it into a collection of essays, which later became a book. But everyone thinks it's just a show with women, and we're parodying the very simple. I'm like, no, it goes much deeper. Like, one thing you get run up about the flagpole is like how everyone thinks the red pill is like degeneracy, right? But then you have a chapter in your book, how to go from spinning plates to monogamy, right? Like literally how to go from testing the waters to being, hey, I want to marry you. But that's how you know they've never read the book or the source material or anything. They just think the red pill is Andrew Tate, and it's like the intellectual laziness of people, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's and that's partially because of that wave. Like when it was I would say probably 2021, 2022, that's when the red pill wave was like really hitting its peak, and everybody wanted to be a part of it. Even like Adam Sosnick, who had a financial show, decided that he wanted to like, you know, test the waters with a intersexual dynamics red pill-ish show for Thursdays. And then that turned into Saucecast, which is what we have right now. And now he's kind of like trying to sort of back away from it. The same thing happened with the roommates, for example. Abba and Preach. They were all about it until they weren't, right? Everybody was about it until they weren't. And then once they smell blood in the water for like a big creator, then it's like, oh, I'm red pill adjacent. Oh, I always knew it. It's whatever is most expedient to their particular personal brand. And that's how you can tell the difference between like people who are about it and who are not about it, because they're all brand as opposed to actually being about, like, sometimes it's hard to be red pill, man. It's hard to fucking say this stuff. Because at some point it's going to either get you canceled or it's going to get you on a DHS watch list. They're going to call you a terrorist, or they're going to call you a radicalizer. Or it got pretty dangerous in this last, election cycle. And another prediction I made was like, come November 6th, all bets are off, man. They're just going to clear the table and everything is new. And it sure as hell did, man. Exceeded my expectations, because I'm looking at Destiny getting like caught with Lauren Southern and all that shit. And people go,
undeniable proof now.
Well, why do you care about that? You just sounds like you're obsessed. I'm like, yeah, you weren't saying shit in the summer of 2023 when this guy was basically trying to get me canceled. So yeah, it is kind of important to me. So I'm going to take this victory lap, and you can go fuck yourself for 5 minutes, okay? And then I was right about that. So I was also right about the collusion. I was also right about I right about the the child that was produced between the two. Now I'm waiting for that one. Then you've got the fact that all these Twitch kids were working for Progressive Victory, which was paying them off and had bought them since as early as 2022, right? So now you have political operatives. Now you have all these people who are, sort of platformed and legitimized by, maybe not knowingly so. But you've got you got Sneeko, you've got Destiny, you've got Nick Fuentes, I like Zerka, but you got Zerka too, right?
Yeah, I almost forgot about him.
Yeah. You got all these guys, and so you got these people come in. They're really not about the message. They're not about the red pill. They're not about like what really started all this stuff. I believe Myron and Fresh still have a genuine bone in their body still, but after a while, and your brand gets so big that you have to sort of go with whatever is trending, because you got to keep the lights on, and you got to keep the internet on, and you got to keep
lifestyle creep. You got to pay the Lambos.
And that's when you get that's when you get people like Pearl. And that's when you get people who are just basically disingenuous grifters who come in and they build a reputation on the backs of people like Fresh and Fit or myself or whoever else. And they'll do anything to survive, right? So they'll do anything for for click-through rate, right? They'll do anything for
sweet CTR.
And it's like, I'm not about red pill. I'm an entertainer, right? Well, what the fuck are you, right? And so you have that, and then that gives way to people who are even worse, more disingenuous people who come into the sphere like Destiny. When I'm looking at him on Chris Williamson, like getting interviewed twice, asking him to explain the manosphere and the red pill and everything. I was like, oh, this guy, blue hair.
Piers Morgan on the Israeli-Gaza conflict. What was that about? Yeah.
Why on earth would Piers Morgan want to have Tommy Lahren and Destiny on his show to debate Palestine versus Israel? Like, you couldn't find anybody with a poli-sci degree. Someone. Yeah, you could have. There was nobody else, right? There's nobody who's a better authority.
The University of Cambridge, there's probably somebody there who knows about history and all that stuff. No, we had to get the gamer.
Exactly. And the only reason they do is for the same reason that Myron and Fresh wanted to get Sneeko on board, right? Because they're popular. They're popular with the Twitch kids. I get it, and that's why Piers Morgan had Tommy Lahren and Destiny on. They don't have poli-sci degrees. They're not experts in statescraft or foreign policy or anything like that. They just have huge followings. That's all they cared about. And so you have Piers Morgan who's sitting there trying to take these people like very seriously. It's like Larry King live trying to interview these two guys or these two people, and it's patently ridiculous. And again, remember, Piers Morgan is not necessarily about, he ostensibly is about, social issues and politics and stuff like that. But you can tell by the people that he chooses to have on that show that it's all about entertainment. It's all about it. It's all about keeping the brand of Pierce Morgan going.
Yeah, he was on America's Got Talent as a judge. Like he's an entertainer. He always will be.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody was saying that. What was it? Was it Joe Rogan was on? Was it Fear Factor? Wasn't he like the host of Fear Factor for a while?
Yeah, he was.
And then you had so you had Joe Rogan, who's the host of Fear Factor, and then you had Donald Trump, who was in The Apprentice. So you had those two people, and they're talking about one of the, like, Donald Trump becoming the most important person on planet, the leader of the free world.
The future of the country, and you would never have guessed that 20 years ago. And I used to watch Fear Factor, and my dad used to watch The Apprentice, and even like those things were so fun. It was just media, like TV, and now those people are the the biggest players, if not the biggest players in the future of the country.
I was right about Destiny and Lauren. I'll take that. I'll take that gold star. Thank you very much. I was right about Progressive Victory paying these kids off. I was also right about the fact that all of Destiny's girlfriends have been fucking him. We've already seen the porn.
That was pretty. Yeah, I had to wash my hands with bleach after you posted that. I'm like, all right, going to the bathroom.
So what's funny is I told Mike Sartain, I said, I will guarantee you that Jasmine Jafar, Farah, Pixie, and Not So Erudite, I will guarantee you at least those 4 chicks have been fucking Destiny. And I got one right. I got Pixie so far. I don't know about the others just yet.
Jesus.
But yeah, and then him sucking dick and everything else, and it's just like he
refuses to get zeroed out. He's like fighting it.
What's funny is all of his supporters like, well, yeah, everybody knew that. Why do you have a problem with it? Like, who is taking this person seriously? And I thought about it, and you know what? They're right, though. They're right. Like, everybody knew. He made no secret about that fact at all. But the fact of the matter is it's not Destiny that I'm pointing a finger at right now. I'm pointing a finger at Adam Sosnick. I'm pointing a finger at Lex Friedman. I'm pointing a finger at Chris Williamson. I'm pointing a finger at Fresh and Fit as well for platforming this motherfucker as if he's some sort of serious character witness for the red pill and the manosphere and everything else. He has nothing legitimate to say. And we can see this black and white because here we have all these leaks. The guy is a proven liar. He's provenly colluded with Lauren Southern. I mean, what else do I have to
He's on drugs.
He's on drugs. He's on Vyvanse.
Yeah, it's a weird jaw thing.
Like, people told me about.
And not only that, I think didn't you predict that as well too? Like you said, hey, he's on something. And
I knew he was because there was somebody sent me, like, I don't follow the guy because it's like impossible to follow him, but like I have people who follow him and they'll go, what do you think about this, Rollo? And there was this one video where he was drug seeking, essentially, is he was putting out the call for somebody to give him like a prescription strength Adderall. And then Not So Erudite was on the same stream as him and said, you should try Vyvanse. And Vyvanse is like industrial strength Adderall. It's like this side of like a methamphetamine.
Basically cocaine at that point.
That would probably make him do this, when he's doing his thing. He's chewing his face off when he was on Jubilee and he was like in the hot seat on Jubilee just recently. He's just, and I'm like, I thought about this and I didn't realize it until I saw the Jubilee hot seat thing. And then I realized, because I lived in Reno, okay, so it's like meth capital of Nevada. But I would see people who are like, see tweakers in 7-Eleven or something like that, and they're doing the same thing, and I go, he's a tweaker. I mean, maybe he's not doing meth, but he's doing something pretty close to it. Vyvanse would probably do that. So like I just sort of writ him off as a tweaker, because that's essentially what he is. And that's how he rattles stuff off so fast. He's like a machine gun with his words, and
he has his phone on him too.
That's why they call them motorheads, right? That's what they do. So, so he's definitely on something. I don't know exactly what, but it's certainly not. So I would seriously doubt he has a prescription for it. Put it that way.
Yeah. He doesn't need it. That's for sure.
I got that right. Then what else did I get right just recently?
Well, Prince Harry, you got what we talked about in the beginning. You got that right.
It's the Pat Campbell days. I remember when he was just about, they were getting engaged, and me and Pat Campbell started talking about Harry. That's when I said he's going to end up offing himself, because he was so overly invested and just overly, involved with this chick, and Meghan Markle is probably like, she's dumb as a sack of hammers, dude. But she just and he just gives it up, like and so easily too.
Yeah,
And
he gave up his guns. He gave up his princehood, didn't he? Like
royalty, everything. It's
like who does that?
you remember, was it I think it was like in Superman 2 in the 80s movies when like he basically gives up all of his superpowers because Lois wants him to be like a normal like Clark Kent guy. It's like,
Yeah,
like, oh my
it's right there. It's
Give me
right there. Everyone's always known about this phenomenon. We just act like it's not real.
And so my main concern is clearly I don't want him to off himself, but like if I could get him a copy of my book, I would do it. But yeah, I mean, and then again, what happens is every time I'm right about something, everybody's like, well, everybody knew that. That's nothing. You don't need a crystal ball for that. I'm like,
well, yeah, duh. I already saw it coming. I was the one that predicted it. Yeah.
I can't believe you're so negative, Rollo. I was like, and now it's gone from you're so negative, Rollo, to everybody knew that.
We all knew this was happening. Yeah. Yeah, they just can't let you win. They're not going to let you win.
No, and then it's like, and then I started doing TRT in let's see, January of 2023, and I started lifting more, and I'm living in Vegas. I'm doing what I'm doing with Access Vegas and everything else, and I'm putting on muscle mass. I'm looking better, and everybody's like, man, he must be on gear. There's something wrong with him, you know. I'm like, can I just fucking own this, please? Just one thing. Give me one thing, please. Like, yeah. I've made a positive change in my life, and you ass hats have. Hey man, never skip leg day.
Yeah, I don't even think I've ever seen you in. Oh wait, no, you have that picture at a beach club.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's at a Wet Republic. Yeah.
That's the only picture I've seen of your legs. Everything else has been Rollo the podcast.
When that was in August of 2023. So I'd only been on TRT for like maybe 6 or 8 months at that point.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm gonna do when I'm your age.
It's so people think it's just like all you got to do is like, even if you're doing gear, you still have to work out, man. You still have to put in a lot of work.
You can't. It's not a magic pill. It's not like that's what I say about Ozempic. Like Ozempic is like, yeah, but you're gonna be flabby. You need something. Mm-hmm. Ladies, if you get Ozempic, you need to like do some.
It's not
Romanian deadlift.
It's not like you fire up 100 milligrams of tren and suddenly like muscle just jumps on your body or something like that. It's like you have to go. Yeah. So I've been working out with Hida Yamagishi. He's a IFBB world champion bodybuilder for 2023. And then I got a few other really good workout partners and friends at Powerhouse here in Vegas. And so it's one of the things about like TRT is it makes you want to work out. It makes like effort feel good. Mm-hmm. So that was like moving here as far as like my money, muscles, and game. I've been kind of focusing on muscles a lot lately. And moving to Vegas really helped that out. And I also have to look the part too, right? Because I'm doing Access Vegas. I'm doing more stuff with Mike and MOA and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, you have Reignite and all that. I guess you identified that the weak point of a lot of men is the divorcing after they're in their 40s, where they have to restart. They don't know what to do. They've lost everything. They've never been in a situation where their reputation, their money, whatever standing they have in society gets taken away. So very vulnerable. And I've seen it a lot myself in the military. And it's great that you're doing that because,
place to get zeroed out, man.
Yeah. It's like it's statistically speaking, you will probably even think about it if you get to that point. And it's good that we're giving men like, and I guess you always start with the delusional calculator where you say, hey, how rare of an animal are you really? It's not what society's telling you.
Guys, like most guys are way more valuable than I remember when the delusion calculator came out, and I think it was Cappy that showed it to me, right? Because he helped out with it.
Really?
It was really meant to sort of like call these girls on their delusional expectations, and like, oh well, the guy that you want to get with is like 0.017 of the population of the United States, so maybe you need to sort of like readjust or be a little more realistic with your expectations, right? Which of course flies in one ear and out the other for these girls.
Right, exactly.
The unexpected like utility of that is like it also helps guys realize how much more valuable than they really are, right? So if you're a guy and you are, let's say, between the ages of like 30 and 35, and you're anywhere between like 5'10" and 6 feet tall, and you make approaching six figures, right? If you're just getting up to the $100,000 range, or even if you're just below that, right? You could be into the $85,000 range, right? And then just like how rare an animal you actually are, it helps guys sort of like get a better perspective, because like they don't understand, like, especially if you're like if you have a normal body weight, like if you're not obese, you're already put yourself ahead of 75% of the US population right there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
a
then
big problem in this country.
if you're in what is you know what was saying, I saw this video that said like only 16% of the population can like bench 225, which is 2 plates on either side. I'm like, dude, that's like starting weight.
Yeah, that's
workout weight.
That's like yeah, you should get that early on, like a year in at least. You should be able to like rip those out.
And then like I think there's I forget the percentage, but there's only a certain percentage of the United States that can do like any more than 4 pull-ups. I'm like, I can do that easy. And I thought it was funny because then I've got like I'm listening to Alex from Date Psych talking about, man, all these red pill guys are fat and flabby. I'd like to see them do pull-ups. I'm like, anytime, princess, let's go.
I think he got spammed by every single guy. It's like, hey, here's me lifting 405. Here's me. I'm like, dude, I hate that guy so much. But
or then they're like, I've never seen any of these red pill guys in a really successful, healthy relationship. They're all dysfunctional and fucked up and everything.
What am I, chopped liver? How many years is it now?
28. 28 and change. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you are. It's crazy because you are a family man, and people forget that you are a family man. You show up for your daughter. You're invested. You're exactly what these Christian men preach. This is what I get to too. So illustrated Christianity. I believe that saying that you're coming out and saying you're Christian is the new I'm starting an OnlyFans, because it gets you that much more clout, right? Yeah. It is like it's become inverted, where it's like back in the day, if it was like a Christian girl or a girl that you wouldn't expect saying, hey, I'm starting an OnlyFans, then she would go viral. But now it's the opposite. I think just like I think you said 2 years ago, it doesn't matter if you say you're a feminist or not a feminist. It doesn't mean anything, because we're all within the context of feminism. We can't escape it. And I think same thing with Christianity is like saying that you're a Christian means nothing in this day and age, because, I know maybe Andrew Wilson won't agree with me or any of those people, but we have an OnlyFans star making $43 million in 1 year. So they say, right? Confirming I'm a virgin, therefore, and I'm Christian, therefore, I'm going to heaven. That's right. And then we have like Nala, who just said, hey, I'm Christian now. That's it. And I'm not going to delete my OF. It's just going to stay there.
By the way, that was fake. Yeah. Haha, got you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she's probably still going to claim, hey, yeah, I'm Christian and all that stuff. So like, is this Christianity just a container word? Is this the end of people claiming does it mean anything anymore?
It's I think it should, honestly. I wrote about this in my 4th book in religion, right?
Right.
I think the problem that we have, especially in like the social media world, the era that we're in right now, is it's become any religion, but Christianity, since that's the big one, right, for Western white people, we tend to use it as sort of for women it's a shield, for guys it's a litmus test, right? So for women, as I was saying before, like when women get into their epiphany phase, when they get to be like around 29, 30, 31 years old, that's when you'll hear them talk about like how they want to get right with God. They want to, turn over a new leaf. And it's usually when they don't have anything left but religion, right? Or they want to get out of the business, out of doing OnlyFans all the time. And so they've got to find some sort of, psychological like shield, I guess, to explain or rationalize the decisions that they made for themselves. So, for instance, I'm sick to death. I've talked about this on my last show, but I'm sick to death of listening to trad moms, right? Power moms or trad femmes, whatever, talking about how it's all men's fault that women do OnlyFans. It's all men's fault that women do porn, that they are all prostitutes. It's all, if men would behave better, then women would behave better. They would do different things, right? And then you have all, and then of course you've got like the white knights and the sycophants that jump on board and go, yeah, man, if men were more responsible like me, then, you know, then we would live in a much better place and we wouldn't have to worry about this social degeneracy and, you know, the trans movement and, you know, whatever, drag queen story hour. Everything would be better if just guys would be better. And it's all your fault. And I'm just like, well, if that's the case, then you have to accept that women don't have any moral agency and they don't have free will. Because essentially what you're saying is that they, for all this, you know, we want to hold women accountable on whatever podcast. That's the whole thing. We're hold women accountable. Well, none of that matters if it's all men's fault. Like, who cares? Well, you just cancel those shows because they're meaningless because we can't hold women accountable. And that's why I kept saying is like, at what point do we cease to be, you know, our sister's keeper? At what point do they have to say, I made this decision and I have to live with these results and these consequences? Because, you know, and it's the result. I mean, it's kind of like the charter for feminism, which is they want to have sort of this new age, new order privileges, but they still want the old order, you know, traditional, you know, roles to be to apply to them as convenient.
Yeah, look at Daniel Penny right now, who's going through the legal system for doing his traditional role, which is protecting women, versus a crazy person and
for it.
Yeah.
And so like when you see Nala, I remember when Nala decided that she was going to get baptized, and I showed that video to Andrew way back in time. And I said, this is such horseshit. I go, watch what's going to happen, because he already knew who she was, right? And then, so now she's decided that she's made enough money and she wants to get out of the business, right? And so she's getting out of the business. And how do you clean up your act? How do you like sanitize your background and your past and everything? You convert to Christianity, because it's all based on forgiveness. And if the Lord has forgiven her, why can't you? You should be able to, because if you don't, then you're not a real Christian. If you're not on board with that. And so all these guys are coming out of the woodwork saying she still has an OnlyFans. She's still fucking with you. This is all fake. And then a year later, she confirms that it was all fake. Even Michael Knowles had to do like a 9-minute video to just cover his ass. Because she basically said, you know, I was doing whatever it took to be successful. And I'm like, does that not sound like what I was saying about like the click-through rate and your personal brand is important than anything else? She wasn't about anything. And so how can we say that she's about being Christian right now? And so, but the thing is if you doubt that, then you're the problem and she's not the problem. And
she knew that. And she knew that fully.
You know who taught me this lesson was Roosh, actually. It's the narrative of the prodigal son. So the prodigal son he says, Dad, give me my inheritance. I'm going to go out and, you know, use it on hookers and blow.
Go to Mexico, hookers and blow.
Out in the world, takes his inheritance, goes out there. A year later, he's fucked up. He's drunk, you know, he's in the gutter and says, wow, this sucks. It would be better if I just became a servant or a slave with my dad. So he comes crawling back to Dad, and Dad slays the fatted calf and throws this big ass party, and everybody, you know, there's a few people going, what the fuck? You know, I've always been loyal.
Well, hold on.
Right. And so the prodigal son returneth. And really what the narrative of the prodigal son is that it's a guy who had the faith, fell away from the faith, and then goes, you know what? You guys were kind of right. All this stuff, you were right about this. And they come back. And the prodigal son, the actual lesson of the prodigal son is not about the prodigal son. It's about the people who are the true believers, because they are the ones that are like, see, we were right all along. They can feel self-righteous because this guy falls away from the faith, comes back to the faith, and then reaffirms that faith for the people who've always been faithful, right? See, you should have listened to us in the first place. We were more wise than you.
Yeah.
Right.
They get vindicated. Yeah. It's a vindication.
And if you doubt the sincerity of the return of the prodigal daughter in this case, then you're the fucking problem. Then you're doubting the faith, right? Then you're not a true believer. It's the most perfect, like, circular logic you could possibly apply to you know, change of heart, or even doubting sincerity. No one is allowed to doubt sincerity, right? Because it's based on forgiveness, right? So that's why you've got like the girl who, you know, has the other girl with $43 million or whatever, and says, you know what, I'm done. I was always a virgin anyways. I'm squeaky clean. Don't worry. I can still wear white at my wedding. Or then you've got like, was it Mia Khalifa, or what's the other girl? Lana Rhodes. Still using their porn names, right? Or you've got Mia Khalifa, who's like just coming down on porn, yet she is like the 6th top earner on OnlyFans. She's still doing porn, okay?
Yeah.
Still uses
And she doesn't feel any remorse. She just keeps doing it.
Just keeps doing it, man. And we're supposed to, well, you know, how dare you question God's forgiveness because she's now made holy because she's come back to the faith, right? And you're the problem. And we can do that through Christianity, or we can do it through the fact that you're just a guy and it's men's responsibility. She wouldn't have ever done that if it had been for you bad men in the first place, right? So
you were the ones buying it. You know, it's all you. You know
how they say, like, if you cheat on your wife, it's your fault, and if she cheats on you, it's your fault.
It's also your
all
fault,
that is we're just transferring that narrative over to Nala, or to a religious sense. That's all we're doing. So yeah, and in a digital age, it's instantaneous. People can call you a charlatan. They can call you a doubter, or they can call you a fake Christian, like, immediately. And millions of them can do it all at the same time. So.
State of Christianity. Like after reading your religion book, it kind of snapped me out of like the physical esotericism. Am I saying that? Esotericism? I don't know how to say it, and all that. And I'm just like, wow. Christianity is not heading. It's going to be a laughing stock in a couple years. It's not going to mean anything to say you're Christian, because if someone can do terrible things and be like, well, oh, hold on, I was Christian the whole time. I'm sorry, I'm converting now. And then you have the big representatives of Christianity, like say someone like Michael Knowles, or anyone on Daily Wire, or anyone, kind of be like, oh, welcome aboard, like, and give them a red carpet treatment and all that. Whereas what about, it's like people that were obese and then they lost the weight, and then the whole time people are clapping like, wow, you're amazing. But what about the guy that since day one he's watched his diet, got fit, did everything right? We don't care about that guy. We care about people that get on our program and all that. And usually the obese people, they snap back. Sadly, I wish it wasn't like that, but it's
that's another form
imagine all the
prodigal son.
Yeah, imagine all the Christian people that have been good their whole lives, that done everything right, and they're just like, wait a minute. And that's why I kind of sympathize with the Wilsons, because it's just like, wait a minute, like, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been good for, I mean, they're probably not perfect, but they've been doing it for a long time, at least a decade of adhering to the Christian values.
If you've read if you've read religion, then you know that, like, a lot of the stuff that I talk about when it comes to, I don't shit all over Christianity. I'm equal opportunity for a lot of that book, and I don't really shit on religion all that much, and I don't shit on atheism either, right? So, like, I make that very clear in the introduction. I said, if you're looking for me to sort of confirm your faith and like shit all over, disbelievers, you're going to be disappointed. And then I said, and if you're looking for me to confirm your atheism and, shit all over people who believe, then you're going to be disappointed as well, right? Because I try to be.
I remember the first part of that book was like, let me be clear here because everyone's like, oh, he's gonna pump up Christianity or the Jews or the Muslims. It's like, no, everyone gets a piece.
I still have people like saying like, oh, is this shit all over Christianity? I'm like, it's about everything. So just like, I'm not really shitting on anyone. It's just the confluence of red pill topics and red pill intersectional dynamics and religion, right? But the problem that you run into with all of this is that it's founded on whatever that particular faith is, right? So it's what I call the Orthodox paradox, right? So like, I can talk to Rachel and Andrew Wilson, and they will tell you the only real faith is Eastern Orthodox or something Orthodox, whatever they happen to be, right? And that's a constant frustration for me throughout that book, because like, I can talk about Islam, and then it's Shia or Sunni, right? Or it's whatever the offshoot is. Or if I want to talk about Sikhs, or if I want to talk about Judaism, right? There's a lot of like subcategories even within Judaism, right? And so now think about all of the subcategories there are of Christianity, right? There's Protestant, there's Catholic, there's Reformed, there's this, there's that, there's, there's so many different franchises of Christianity that it's like next to impossible. Like if I'm critical and I say, hey, Christianity seems pretty lost. I just saw this today. There's it's probably an Episcopalian or something or maybe a Methodist preacher comes in the frock and it's got like this rainbow thing, and he's made up and looks like he's trans, right? He's got women's makeup on, and then of course people say, well, that's not real. That's not real Christianity, right? It's the no true Scotsman thing. Like no real Christian would do something like that. But yeah, here it is, right? Or if you look, like I just posted, you probably saw this. I reposted the story about the nuns who all got knocked up. Like,
oh yeah.
Suddenly they're having kids. And then of course that's Catholicism. Well, no real Catholic would do so. So you're never going to be able to get around the fact that people will always be able to rely on a no true Scotsman or argument for damn near anything. So if I'm actually surprised the truce or the allied position of like Muslims and Christians for a long time has lasted as long as it has, and then towards the end of the election cycle, that's when you see like Muslims and mostly Christians splitting from the Muslims. And I thought it was funny because a lot of people were saying, I'm gonna convert to Islam because it seems like the red pill religion. Right, because they know how to treat women, and it's more really.
Yeah, you get 4 wives. You get 4 wives delivered to your house. Yeah,
I'm like, that's no reason to convert to any religion whatsoever. Right?
That's like the last one.
I should certainly hope you have more reasons than just that to convert to anything. But people, they don't think any further than, well, this seems like the more manly religion, so I'm going to go with this. Rollo, don't you think Islam is the most manly red pill religion? I'm like, well, in some respects, yeah. But like it's like, but if that's the reason you're converting to Islam, even if I was Muslim and somebody said that to me, I would be insulted.
Yeah, I'm offended. Yeah,
get out of here. You better actually believe in the Quran and Allah and all this other, and the Prophet Muhammad. You better have like a real core belief in that, and then sort of a side benefit is you can have up to 4 wives, and you can be
if you can afford them. Yeah.
And so when people are saying like Andrew Tate's talking about how like he wanted to convert to Islam so because it seems more manly, and I'm like, that's not a reason to convert to it. It's like, I would hope you have a more sincere reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, it should be about your relationship with God. I know that's just a thought, maybe because
that's what I
believe in it.
That's like, to answer your question, that's what I threw in at the end, like the very last chapter of religion. When people wanted to know, well, why does the rational male believe in God? And I explain it there, in black and white for quite some time, right? So I don't have to go and like, paraphrase myself. It's like, buy the book and you'll be able to understand why I do. But no, I think that like people's like real, true, sincere religious belief, religious faith is something that should be like really, really like deeply, private to that person, right? I mean, that's like, it's your innermost like existential thinking, right? But then we treat it as if it's another product or it's another widget, or it's like it's a political ideology. And I'm like, to me, it's never been anything like that. So that's why I was saying, like, if you're converting to any religion just because it seems like you'll get more chicks, you gotta but do you actually believe in the religion? Do you believe in God in the first place? And it's like, a lot of times it's just they haven't even got that far. They don't, it's what epistemology, right? They don't understand why they believe what they believe. They don't know.
I haven't even read the holy book before even converting. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mentioned in the book, like, my father was dyed in the wool atheist for a very long time, right? And so I used to have Christian pastors tell me, well, we'll pray for him. I'm like, I ain't gonna do jack shit because he doesn't believe in God. Like, it's not that he doesn't believe in your religion. He just doesn't believe in God, period. And I was like, that's the first thing, is like, if you could pray for him in Islam or, Hindu or whatever it is, it won't make any difference because he just simply has no understanding, no faith in any sort of higher being, anything outside himself. And so you can't even say, well, we'll pray for him that he converts to Christianity. I'm like, well, I would pray for him that he would actually believe in God first.
Yeah. They're like our version of Christianity. Yeah.
There's a belief in God, and then we can talk about religion.
Yeah.
It wasn't there. And I don't think it's funny to me because I remember having that conversation at like 14 or 16 years old with like evangelical Christians or Jehovah's Witnesses, right? And I'd be like, I don't think you understand my dad.
Yeah, he's a tough nut to crack. He's not Yeah, he's not going to change his mind just like that.
There has to be a basic belief in something that's larger than yourself, and like there has to be a basic faith, right, in something that's beyond you, that you can't experience with your, you know, your sight, your sound, your touch, your taste, whatever, you know, your senses, right? And I think that until you can get to that point, or you can at least accept the idea that perhaps there are things that are outside of yourself that you can't really experience, and you sort of have that as a starting point. Until you have that starting point, it's like religion makes no difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good book. I mean, you took what, 2 years of research and making sure doing it right. Yeah, 3 years. You interviewed what, rabbis,
Yep.
people, devout
Still,
people of each religion. So yeah, it took a lot of work, and honestly, the way I see it, um, I just see like Christianity is like saying you're Christian is not going to mean anything in the age of social media. It's about the acts, right? I guess that's what Christians say, it's about the acts. So it's interesting to see Andrew Wilson arguing with another self-proclaimed Christian. I'm like, you're both Christian, so what's the argument about? And that's that. Within that, you can say, hey, it really doesn't mean anything to say it.
the argument is about click-through rate. The argument is about super chats. The argument is about eyes on the screen is really what it's about. I hate to be that blunt, but that's really what it comes down to. And that's another thing I wrote about in the book as well. It's not enough to be the pastor of a church. You have to be online, you have to have a blog, you have to have Twitter, you have to have Instagram, you have to televise your worship service on YouTube, right? You have to become an influencer of some sort, right? You have to have a media outlet, you have to have email, you have to be available 24/7, you have to become a personality of, or a brand of you, right? And by the way, that's not just for being a pastor, that's also for being a psychologist, for being an author, for being a musician, for being, God forbid you're a musician, like all that stuff. You have to do that now, because anybody who's making money, they're going to lap you on the track. If you don't, you will not have a church unless you do that now. And that's the problem, is in that sort of that brand, that personality brand, that's when that people become that brand. They become the persona that they create for themselves. And since we're talking about this in a religious perspective, that might be a pastor or whatever. And so now their shtick is like, you know, Doug Wilson or Michael Foster, whatever. Like these guys are, you know, they're our outreach, right? Or you saw the video I put up of like the Mighty Men Ministries.
Oh yeah,
get out there, dude. It's like, yeah, it's like it's like a professional wrestling, you know, worship men's ministries. Like, get out there, brother.
Yeah.
Read your Bible.
Masculinity as a skin suit, like.
It's like if Wes Watson became like a pastor, that's what I would expect the church to lead.
Hey, I wouldn't doubt if he did. If he did, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, stop being a heretic.
Yeah, but if Hulk Hogan became a pastor, I'd go to that sermon at least once, just to see it.
Put it this way, it'd be entertaining as fuck. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
but
it'd be more entertaining than going to a black church where they're like doing backflips and stuff.
See, these guys become that personality. They create a persona for themselves, and it's like what I call the Ziggy Stardust effect. You know, like David Bowie, when he was doing Ziggy Stardust, he had to quit doing Ziggy Stardust because people kept calling him Ziggy, not David Bowie, Ziggy. Because he had made such a convincing bubblegum character, and he had such a stage show and a light show. And remember, this is,
they wanted Ziggy, not David Bowie. Yeah,
they wanted Ziggy, right? To the point where he started to give them what they wanted, right? So he started to become Ziggy. His identity ceasing to be David Bowie and was starting to become Ziggy. And now that's like when he was talking about this, like, you know, decades later to Rolling Stone magazine. He's like, I had to stop doing that. He won't do now he's dead, but like he would never do a revival or never do a tour, never return to Ziggy, because he didn't, like, literally Ziggy Stardust was supposed to be an alien that came from somewhere else and came to Earth to like deliver this message of, you know, peace and music and everything else. And people really bought it so wholesale that he started to believe his own bullshit. And really, that's kind of, I make that comparison now because that's really what like a lot of influencers, and I hate the term influencer, right? Because that's really what it is, but they're influencing themselves. It's a cult of personality of yourself. And it gets to the point, I'm not going to name names, but there's people I know who've gone from sort of like people I know to being nothing but brand. Nothing comes out of their mouth that isn't on brand. And so like everything, their personality becomes the persona and the mate. Like, I'm Rollo Tomassi. I hate to break it to you, but that's not actually my real name.
What? You're not Italian?
Yes, exactly. But that's the moniker, and that's the handle I've used for a long time, and it's my pseudonym for my book, so I'll use it. But when I talk to my wife, she calls me by my real name, and we actually have conversations, like that. And so to my family and my friends and stuff like that, I'm not that persona that I think a lot of people think. But I've always been very conscious of trying to separate the persona from the man. And so like when I'm talking to people who I've known for a long time, I'm like, dude, I want to talk to the man. I don't want to talk to the brand. Talk to me like we used to, like when we were friends, right? I want to talk to you like a friend, and so that we can go do stuff as friends, because there's a lot of guys who I would like, honest to God, I would be really good friends with them, and I want to go do shit with them, and go do hobbies and go do activities and sports and shit like that. But every occasion is a content creation. And that's kind of what we've done right now, is we've turned everything into, we don't call it sex anymore. It's content. Like, hey, would you like to come over and shoot content with me? Oh, you want to fuck? Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll be right over.
That's what the kids are going to start calling it in the future.
Oh, that's what you want to do? Yeah. That we call it creating content.
It's interesting because Joe Rogan, he said he wanted to interview Kamala because he's like, basically saying the same thing you are, like, hey, she's all brand. She doesn't, there's nothing real about her. She's saying what she's supposed to say. And Joe wanted to know the real her. He said there's a real person in there, but it's like she turned it down because, again, it's the Ziggy Stardust effect. She really thought she was like the savior of women and abortion rights and all that stuff.
Yeah, she believed her own bullshit.
Yeah. Yep. So it is the future. Unfortunately, everyone's going to become their brand. I mean, you talked about it in Player's Handbook. You are a brand.
Like I have this new thing. It's a DJI Osmo. It's like this little camera that you can do your own like vlogging with and everything. Mike Sartain's got one too. He's starting to do these videos and everything. And I can remember talking to Justin Waller one time. Justin goes, man, if I could get like a drone or something to follow me around and just do content of me, like from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, he says, I would do it. I'm like, fuck that.
Even when you're on the toilet.
Now I'm wandering around with a DJ Osmo talking to an audience that's like, like, it's funny to me because we sell this stuff. Like, I don't know how many people got watching right now, but like I might have 50,000 people watch one of my shows. Like, we get 50,000 views, right? That's a lot of people. Like, you think about like how many people fit in a stadium. Yeah, that's a lot of fucking people. But when you're filming it, or I'm like, it's just me and the camera and the dog and you, and that's it, right? So it's a little bit, so in some ways it's really kind of weird to be a little bit self-conscious about that. But then once you get past that, like I said, anything can become normal. So you're wandering around with a DJI Osmo, the people are looking at you like, are you supposed to be important?
Yeah.
And you're just basically doing content your entire life. Like, taking a shit is content, right? I'm like, no, just to stay away.
It's like those women on Twitch that they stream themselves sleeping for 8 hours, and guys
and people
watch it. Just to sleep.
Top dollar.
Yeah.
Talk shit
just
about
to watch a young woman sleep. That's insane. Yeah.
Oh, she's so cute. Yeah. Or like I just mentioned this. I said there's two places I don't take my cell phone. One is in the gym. I never take my cell phone in the gym. And I have a shuffle, like a iPod shuffle for my music, right? So, but it's isolated. It's not attached to anything. And then when I'm running my dogs, which I couldn't anyways, because my dog runs too damn fast. But like when I'm with my dogs, I never bring my phone with me. Those are the two places I never really bring it. But then like I think about all the places I think would be great to shoot content. And I have to like really stop myself in my tracks and I go, is that really going to be something people want to see? Probably not. Would I want to see it? No. Then nobody else does.
Yeah. So Any other predictions
I don't know,
beyond what we've talked about? You've been right about most things, if
man.
not all. Like, what are the predictions that we haven't heard or you haven't
Mhm.
really fleshed out yet?
So
Or is
I'm
it all
trying
going to
to.
be the same all over again?
No, no, no. Well, yeah, in a way, it's like history doesn't repeat itself, but it
Then it
rhymes,
rhymes.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so I was asked this right by Mike right after the election because I remember I said once November 6th hits, all the bets are off, right? And boy, I was really right about that. So much so I didn't even realize how right I was because immediately after that, Trump decides that he's going to hire some sort of commission or have some sort of congressional body or Senate body um, to defund the DHS for NGOs. You know, any organization that limits or bridges the price of free speech, like diverting hate. And when he said that, I'm like, holy shit, he knows, he knows, you know.
Yeah.
Because I was worried, and because the whole diverting hate thing is basically collusion between an NGO, DHS, which is using our taxpayer dollars through the McCain Institute to ASU, and then ASU pays the money to the NGO, which is diverting hate, right? And so myself, Aaron Clary, MTR, Rich Cooper, Sam Mann, some other people who I don't even know. I'm thinking, God, I hope they're getting better traffic now. I hope with things are going to maybe all this ends in 2025. And so that would be one prediction. Is I'm really hopeful that all this bullshit with diverting hate goes away, and I can get back to normal, and I can get back to actually growing my channel a little bit more and not have to worry about being demonetized. But I also should say that when we get into the 2026 midterm election cycle, and when we get into the 2028 election cycle, I'm going to be hyper aware of this shit because they're going to start buying influencers again.
Yeah. So you're going to be you're going to already expect, hey, they're going to use influencers now. Yeah, well, that is a normal thing now going forward.
And both sides. So if you look at Tenet Media and you look at Tim Pool and you look at Lauren Chen and all the shit that was going on with $10 million.
She's gone. She's gone.
Lauren Chen. Oh God. That was like an extra cherry on top. I didn't predict that, but I was like,
she is gone.
And then Lauren Southern is wrapped up in that shit too. And I'm just like, oh man, the chickens have finally come home to roost. So I would say here's what's going to happen in 2025. We're going to swing back towards MGTOW and Black Pill. That's what I think is going to happen. Right around 2021, which was right after the 2020 election cycle, when Myron and Fresh were starting to go big and the red pill wave was sort of coming back up. That's when you get MGTOW dictionary, and that's when you get all these guys who are black pill, quote unquote black pill doomers. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have this another wave of guys who were part of the red pill who got jaded because of all the shit that happened in the prior election cycle. And that's when they go, hey, we're going our own way. We're leaving the manosphere. We're leaving everything. You dating roaches and all that kind of shit, right? I guarantee you we'll end up going probably by August of 2025, we'll already be in full swing for MGTOW once again. And black pill doomers, because it'll seem like it's new. And it's really not, but the generation, that's 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So now it seems like it's novel. By the time we get to August, we'll be back in the MGTOW cycle again.
The MGTOW cycle, I like that.
Yeah, it's the MGTOW cycle. I remember during that time too, because prior to it was 2017, 2018, there was another MGTOW cycle. There was that's when Joker and CGA came up. And they were quote unquote MGTOWs. And I don't know if they're still identified as MGTOWs right now, but there's a whole big wave of these guys. And I'm just naming names because they're the ones that are left. The rest of them went away. But the big names and the people who are successful at it, like CGA and Joker, they're still around. But during 2017, 2018, that's when the MGTOW cycle starts. And so you'll see MGTOW as a trending hashtag. And so if you want to start a brand, if you want to get rich online, right? Well, you can get into money, muscles, or game. Well, if you're not into fitness and you're not into entrepreneurship, well, you can always get into relationships and stuff like that, right? And so, okay, well, what's the trending hashtags in relationships? MGTOW. I don't know what this is, but we'll give it a shot, right? That'll end up being something that's popular, I think, in 2025. Will be MGTOW, but also more to your point, you're always going to have the moralists. I think they're going to kind of tone down a little bit more because all the social issues and the culture war stuff and the political stuff that was accompanying the moralistic side of everything is going to be down. It's going to be pushed down because you got Trump in office now. So I don't think you're going to see so much religious stuff. Maybe Andrew Wilson will be able to carry it through, but I don't think too many other people will be. He's probably the biggest name in that sort of like niche, but I don't think anybody else. I probably couldn't even name anybody else. I'm not sure the girl panel show is going to survive. I hope it does because I like the format and I like the theme. But if you look at like, say, something like Whatever Podcast, like Brian has to keep that a 3-ring circus every time he does that show. So it's got to have Gorlock the Destroyer, right? It has to. We've got to have some chick with 2 pussies on there. We have to have. It's like sideshow.
We have Nala. Yeah, we have to have Nala doing the eyes and all that.
It's like The Price is Right. Everybody has to wear a costume, right? And I will tell you this is nothing has done more for Andrew Wilson's career than Whatever Podcast, because he basically is the host of that show now.
Yeah, he has like 60 episodes in a row at this point of just him hosting basically.
And I've also noticed this, and maybe this is a conscious effort on Brian's part, but that show lives or dies according to the super chats. And he doesn't rely on YouTube super chats so much as he does on like private super chats. And he doesn't read any of them under $100, which is genius when you think about it. But I'm also noticing that the shows are getting longer and longer and longer. So you got these girls who've been sitting there for 9 fucking hours.
What do they give them? They give them like Adderall, like a little bit of Adderall. That's
a full-time job. Like, I mean, seriously, you go in at night and you leave in the morning. You're working a graveyard for Whatever Podcast.
Yeah. And they're young girls, like they're not. What are their attention span?
And then I'll let you guys draw your own conclusions here. But that show has 4.5 million subscribers on Whatever Podcast. How come they weren't on the DHS watch list? How come you would think they would be at the top of the fucking list for diverting hate NGO to suppress those guys, but yet they're not even in the top 12 if they're on at all, which I don't know. But they somehow avoided all of that. And I don't know what that somehow is, but I also noticed that he's milking the show for longer and longer. And to me, that says that at some point he's going to bug out, that there's going to be some, like he's going to hit critical mass, and either the show's going to fall off or he's going to take the bag and go. And I don't know if that's going to be like, selling out to Daily Wire or selling out to somebody else. But I think that at some point he's gonna get topped out, and he's just not gonna want to do the show. He's either not gonna want to do the show anymore, or it's just not gonna be feasible anymore to do 10-hour shows. Right? How much further can he go? Can he go 12 hours? Like that's like a telethon, man.
Yeah, man, it's like a Christmas special or something. That's like watching Lord of the Rings beginning to end. each movie. And I can't barely do that.
I mean, you heard these chicks from Santa Barbara State, and it's like, do they not have to go to school the next day? Because he comes on after my show on Sundays, and he goes till all hours of the morning on Mondays. I'm like, do you not have classes on Monday morning?
Jeez, yeah. But anyways, Kyle says hi. He says Nuke will be our DJ on the RP tour. You guys are touring. Your band's touring soon, isn't it?
We're toying. Well, okay, jokingly, we're toying with the idea of doing a Red Pill band like tour, Red Pill Summer, because
the Warp Tour, the Rollo Tomassi Warp Tour.
Okay, so I know I'm semi good friends with Phil Labonte from All That Remains. Phil's been on like Tim Pool. He's basically like a semi regular part of the Tim Pool show, right? Unless he's on tour with Megadeth and Mudvayne. So he was on tour for most of the summer with those guys, and now Phil just announced that All That Remains is releasing an album on January 31st, and it is their first studio album in 6 years. So they're definitely going to be touring in the summertime. So of course, me and Kyle are, because Kyle is the guitar player for A Common Crown. I'm the guitar player for Jinx, and we got who else do we have? Oh, and then I know all the guys in the Failsafe, and the Failsafe was on tour with the guys in Drowning Pool this summer. And so we've been jokingly talking about like putting all four of our bands together and doing like a quote unquote red pill tour, a summer.
Yeah, let me know when you guys are in Dallas. Yeah,
yeah.
I got a lot of buddies that are into metal, and they love it.
If we can make it happen, I will make it happen. It would just be like me trying to talk Phil into it because he's the biggest name on the ticket. So
yeah.
So I don't know, but I would just say it was just a fun idea, and if it turns into something, I'll let you know.
Yeah, definitely. I like going to concerts, and like half my friends are metalheads, and I would just tell them, hey, remember that red book I gave you 5 years ago? That's the guy right there. Right. What, really? That's him. Yeah. But anyway, I gotta let the dog out. I gotta let the little Shiba out. I'm glad that Ned's doing better. I'm a huge dog person now, and it breaks my heart every time I see the pup. But the mighty Ned abides.
Yeah,
so
he's good.
Yeah, so thank you for making time. I just wanted to get your predictions, because Rollo Tomassi is always right. So all right, go. So thanks, guys. Thank you, Kyle, for the super chat, and we'll catch you later. Goodbye.
Peace.